The sun over the alien city was not like Earth's sun. It was larger, warmer, and it painted the streets in gold and red light. The air smelled of spices, roasted fruits, and something sweet that Daniel had never tasted before. He walked slowly through the market, taking in everything with wide eyes. He was just a visitor here, a human traveler moving from world to world, curious about alien cultures. The market was alive with sounds, merchants shouting in strange voices, children running between stalls, music from some kind of stringed instrument playing in the background. Bright fabrics hung from the stalls, and strange animals with colorful feathers stood tied to posts. Daniel stopped to look at a table full of glowing crystals. They pulsed gently, as if they were breathing. He bent down, picked one up, and the alien merchant smiled with sharp teeth. Daniel shook his head politely, putting it back. He was careful here, careful not to offend anyone, careful not to get into trouble. But trouble was already watching him. From the other side of the market, a young alien girl stood in the shadow of a fruit stall. Her skin shimmered like polished emerald, her hair flowed like green silk, and her eyes glowed faintly, catching the sunlight. She watched him for a long moment before stepping forward. Her steps were graceful, her gaze fixed only on him. Daniel noticed her and felt a sudden stillness in the air. The noise of the market seemed to fade just a little. She stopped in front of him, close enough for him to see the silver patterns across her arms, patterns that looked like fine armor, but moved like skin. Without a word, she reached into a small pouch at her side. When her hand came out, it was holding something unlike anything he had seen. It was a bowl, but not made of any material he knew. It looked like liquid silver, frozen in shape, and in the center sat a glowing green crystal. The crystals. Light was soft, yet alive, like a piece of a living star. She held it out to him with both hands, her expression calm, almost expectant. Daniel blinked, glancing around. Some merchants had stopped what they were doing to watch. A few aliens whispered to each other, their eyes wide. For me?" Daniel asked softly. The girl said nothing, but her lips curved into the faintest smile. It felt wrong to refuse. A gift from someone who had come to him with such grace. So, without thinking too much, Daniel reached out and took it from her hands. The metal felt warm. The crystal pulsed once, as if it recognized his touch. Around them, the crowd reacted. A low murmur spread like a wave. Some looked surprised, some looked pleased, and some looked angry. Daniel frowned slightly. "Thank you," he said, not sure if she could understand him. Her smile grew just a little, her eyes softening. Then, as quickly as she had come, she turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Daniel stood there for a few seconds, holding the strange object, unsure what had just happened. That was when a rough hand grabbed his arm. He turned to see an older alien merchant with deep scars across his face. The man's eyes darted around nervously before he leaned close. "Do you know what you just did?" the alien said. In a low voice, Daniel gave a small, confused laugh. "I accepted a gift, that's all." The merchant's grip tightened. "No, that is not all. That girl. She is from the house of Vera." The name meant nothing to Daniel. He shrugged. "Okay, so she's important?" The merchant's eyes narrowed. "She is not just important, she is royal." He paused, glancing around again. "And what you hold in your hands is not just a gift, it is a token. In her people's ways, it means you accepted her as your bonded mate." Daniel stared at him, a sudden chill running through his chest. "Her what?" The merchant's voice dropped even lower. Her husband, Daniel, shook his head quickly, half laughing, half nervous. "That's ridiculous. I didn't agree to marry anyone, eh? But..." The merchant's eyes were deadly serious. You took the token in front of witnesses. The bond is sealed by acceptance. There is no going back without breaking the honor of her entire clan, and they will not allow that. Daniel felt the weight of the object in his hands grow heavier. The green crystal seemed to glow brighter, as if it knew what was happening. He looked toward the crowd, but the girl was nowhere to be seen. The merchant released his arm. "Go," he muttered, "before the guards come. But remember this, your life has just changed, human." Daniel stood frozen for a moment, the voices of the market rising around him again. He didn't know whether to laugh, panic, or chase after the girl. All he knew was that something strange, something dangerous, had just begun, and somewhere in the crowd, the alien girl with emerald skin was watching him. Smiling, Daniel could not stop thinking about this strange alien girl. Her emerald skin, her glowing hair. The way she had appeared out of nowhere, offered him the strange silver bowl with the green crystal, and walked away like it was nothing. But the words of the scarred merchant kept echoing in his head. Her husband. It sounded insane. How could a single gift mean marriage? Still, there had been something in the merchant's eyes, a seriousness that made Daniel uneasy. And the way the crowd reacted, it wasn't normal curiosity. It was shock. He turned into a quieter street, hoping to find a place to sit and think. The silver bowl felt heavy in his hands, as if it was pulling him somewhere. The green crystal glowed softly, its light pulsing like a heartbeat. "Hey, human." The voice came from an alley to his left. Daniel froze, looking toward the shadow. A tall alien stepped out, broad shoulders, long dark coat, a hood hiding most of his face. Daniel's instincts screamed at him to walk away. The alien held up both hands. "I'm not here to harm you," the stranger said quickly. "But you need to know, you're in danger now." Daniel frowned. "Because I took a gift." The alien stepped closer. "You didn't just take a gift. You accepted the binding." Daniel sighed. "Yeah, I've heard that already. Apparently. It makes me married." The hooded alien gave a sharp nod. In her people's eyes, yes. And not just married, protected by her clan. That's why you're a problem. Someone out there wants her unprotected. Daniel's chest tightened. "So you're saying, I got in the way?" "You didn't just get in the way," the alien said, lowering his voice. "You stood between her and a knife aimed at her back." Daniel swallowed. "I don't even know her name." The alien's gaze didn't soften. "Arania. She's a royal daughter of the House of Vera, and if the people trying to kill her can't get to her directly, they will go through you." Daniel's mind spun. He wanted to throw the bowl away, to pretend none of this happened. But the merchants. Words came back to him, breaking the honor of her clan. He didn't know the culture here, but he could imagine what it meant to insult royalty. "Why are you telling me this?" Daniel asked carefully. The alien stepped even closer, his voice barely above a whisper now. "Because I used to guard her. I owe her my life, and you. You might be her only chance now." Before Daniel could ask more, the alien slipped something into his jacket pocket. It was a small metallic disc with strange markings. "If you're taken to the palace, keep this hidden," the alien said. "It might save you, or it might kill you faster. Depends on how you use it." Then, without another word, the stranger turned and disappeared into the alley. Leaving Daniel alone in the fading light, the marketplace noise returned as he walked back toward the main road. But now, he could feel eyes on him. Not curious eyes. Watching eyes. Following Daniel quickened his pace, weaving between stalls, pretending to be just another traveler. But every time he glanced over his shoulder, he saw the same two figures in the crowd, moving when he moved, stopping when he stopped. By the time he reached the small inn where he was staying, his nerves were raw. He slipped inside, locked the door to his room, and sat on the bed. Staring at the silver bowl, the green crystal pulsed again. He almost imagined it was aware, like it was calling to something. He didn't know what kind of trouble he was in. But he knew one thing for certain. This wasn't over. The next morning, the trouble arrived. Daniel had barely opened his eyes when there was a loud knock on the door. Not the knock of a friendly visitor, the hard, sharp sound of someone who didn't care if the door broke. He stood and approached slowly, listening. Voices outside spoke in the alien language, firm and commanding. One word kept repeating, S-E-R-E-N. His pulse quickened. He opened the door a crack and saw two alien guards in silver armor, tall and imposing, each holding a long spear with a glowing blade at the tip. Daniel Ward, one of them said in perfect English, "You will come with us." Now? Daniel's first thought was to refuse, but the way they stood, the way their eyes didn't blink, he knew it wouldn't matter. "Why?" he asked, keeping his voice steady. "You accepted the royal token," the guard said. "The princess awaits you at the Palace of Glass." Daniel glanced back at the silver bowl still resting on the table. It seemed brighter than before. The green crystals light stronger. He took a deep breath, picked it up, and stepped into the hallway. As the guards closed in around him, he realized he was walking into the heart of whatever this was, and there was no turning back now. Somewhere deep inside, he could still see her face, the faint smile when he took the gift. It wasn't the smile of a stranger. It was the smile of someone who had already decided his fate. The city streets were quiet in the early morning light, but Daniel could not enjoy the peace. Two alien guards walked beside him, their silver armor shining with every step, their tall spears glowing faintly at the tips. The crowd parted as they passed, some bowed, some stared, and a few whispered behind their hands. Daniel kept his eyes forward, clutching the silver bowl with the green crystal. The guards said nothing, but their presence was enough to make him feel like he was walking toward something dangerous. They left the narrow streets and entered a wide road lined with tall white towers. At the end, Daniel saw it, the Palace of Glass. It was like nothing he had ever imagined. Huge spires of transparent crystal reached into the sky, catching the sunlight and breaking it into rainbows. The walls shimmered as if made from frozen light. Alien banners hung from the highest points, each bearing a silver pattern shaped like wings. The guards led him through gates taller than starship doors. Inside, the air was cool, smelling faintly of flowers and something metallic. Light from above poured through colored glass panels, painting the floor in shifting patterns. Daniel felt small here, and not just because of the building's size. Every guard, every servant, every set of alien eyes seemed to follow him. Finally, the guard stopped before a set of double doors made of carved crystal. One guard struck the floor with his spear, the sound ringing out like a bell. The doors opened slowly, revealing a large hall filled with alien figures at the far end. Seated on a raised platform was Serenia. She was no longer the girl from the market in a simple traveler's outfit. She wore a flowing gown made from silver threads that caught every light in the room. A crown of delicate metal rested against her glowing green hair, and the silver markings on her arms now extended across her shoulders, almost like armor. Her eyes locked on him the moment he entered. Calm, measuring, almost relieved, Daniel walked forward, his footsteps echoing in the quiet hall. A group of elders sat to Serenia's left and right. They were older aliens, their skin darker in shade, their eyes sharp and watchful. He could feel their judgment like a weight. When he reached the center of the hall, one of the elders stood. His voice was deep and formal. "Daniel Ward of Earth," the elder said, "you stand before the House of Vera, bound by the law of the token. By accepting the princess's gift in the eyes of the people, you have accepted her as your mate. Do you deny this? Daniel felt his throat tighten. "I didn't know," he said honestly. "I thought it was just a gift." A ripple of murmurs moved through the elders. The elder who spoke before raised his hand for silence. "Whether you knew or not does not matter. The law is older than this palace. The bond is sealed by the act." Daniel turned his eyes to Serenia. Her face gave nothing away, but her hands rested calmly in her lap. She was watching him as if waiting for him to speak again. "I'm not saying I want to insult her," Daniel said, his voice steady, "but I'm human. I don't know your laws. Where I come from, we don't marry someone just by accepting a gift." The elder's gaze hardened. "Here, you do." Another elder, this one with softer features, leaned forward. "And if you refuse the bond, it will not just be her you reject, it will be the honor of her clan. There will be consequences." Daniel understood the warning. Consequences in alien royal politics were never small. The elder stepped back and gestured toward Serenia. "She will speak to you now." The room fell silent. Serenia rose slowly from her seat. When she spoke, her voice was clear but gentle, and she addressed him in near-perfect English. "Daniel Ward," she said, "I know you did not understand what you accepted, but I gave you the token for a reason. I chose you. And now, because of that choice, you are part of something much larger than yourself." Daniel's heart pounded. "Why me?" he asked quietly. Her eyes softened, and for the first time since the market, she smiled faintly, but with meaning. "Because you are not part of my enemy's world. You are untouched by their lies. And because—" She paused. "I have seen you before." Daniel blinked. "Before, we've never met." "You think so," she said softly, "but the stars remember more than we do." Her words unsettled him. He didn't know if she was speaking in riddles or truth. Before he could reply, one of the elders stood again. "The law has spoken. The binding will be confirmed in 3 nights during the ceremony of moons. Until then, you will remain here under royal protection." Daniel looked once more at Serenia. Her calm expression didn't match the tension in the room, he realized. Then she might have just pulled him into her life to save herself from something, and whatever that something was, it was coming fast. Daniel's new room in the palace was larger than his entire apartment back on Earth. The walls were smooth crystal, glowing faintly from hidden light sources. A balcony opened to the city below, and beyond that, the alien sky shimmered with 2 suns beginning to set. It should have been beautiful, peaceful, but Daniel's mind couldn't rest. He paced back and forth, staring at the silver bowl on the table. The green crystal pulsed steadily like a living heart. It was the thing that had pulled him here, the thing that now tied him to an alien princess. A soft knock came at the door. Before he could answer, the door slid open and Serenia stepped in. She wore no crown now, just a simple flowing robe that shifted between shades of silver and green when she moved. Without the formality of the throne room, she looked almost human in her expression. Daniel crossed his arms. "So, do I get an explanation now?" Serena walked slowly to the balcony and looked out at the city. "When I saw you in the market," she began, her voice quiet, "I knew you were not from here. I knew you were not part of the clans. And that is exactly why I gave you the token." Daniel frowned, still not getting it. "Why me? You could have given it to any stranger." Her hands tightened on the balcony railing. "I could not trust any stranger. The clans here, they are dangerous. They smile, they bow, but behind closed doors they whisper about who should live and who should die." She turned to him, her green eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "They want me gone. And if I am not bonded by the next moon, they will succeed." Daniel leaned against the table. "Bonded? Meaning married?" Yes, in our law, a bonded mate has the right to defend their partner's life, and the clan must honor that. If I gave the token to someone inside the clans, they could be bribed, or worse. But you have no stake in their politics. That makes you dangerous to them, but safe for me. Daniel let out a dry laugh. Safe for you, maybe. I'm starting to feel like I've stepped into the middle of a war I don't understand. Saranya's voice softened. It is not a war. Not yet. But it will be, if they succeed in removing me. My father is gone. My brother vanished 2 seasons ago. I am the last voice that stands against the ones who would turn our people into conquerors. Her words hit him harder than he expected. She wasn't just trying to save herself. She was trying to protect something bigger. He rubbed the back of his neck. So, this marriage thing, it's not about love, is it? Her gaze didn't waver. It is about survival. For now? She paused, and her voice dropped to a whisper. But I will not lie to you. I chose you because I felt something in that moment, something I cannot explain. For a second, Daniel had no words. The way she looked at him, calm but with an edge of hope, made it hard to breathe. Then a noise broke the moment. A faint scrape, like metal against stone, from somewhere beyond the balcony. Saranya's eyes flicked toward the sound, her body tensing. Daniel moved toward the balcony doors, but she caught his arm. Careful, she whispered. He peeked out into the fading light. The palace walls were sheer, impossible to climb, but far below, a dark figure clung to the side, slowly making its way up. The glint of a weapon caught the last light of the sun. Daniel stepped back inside. We need guards. No, she said quickly. If the wrong guards hear of this, it will spread. The ones climbing could be working for the elders themselves. We cannot show weakness. Her words made his stomach twist. He'd been here less than a day, and already someone was climbing the walls with a blade. What do we do, then? He asked. Saranya's expression was calm, but her hands were tight fists. We wait. They will not make it up before full dark. And by then, I will have someone here I trust. Daniel studied her. She spoke like someone who had lived with danger for a long time. Someone used to hiding strength behind grace. It made him wonder just how many nights she had gone to sleep, not knowing if she'd wake up. When she turned toward the door, he spoke again. Saranya. She looked back. I'm not promising anything, he said slowly, but a tie. I'm not the type to walk away from someone being hunted. Her lips curved into the faintest smile. That is why I chose you, Daniel Ward. Then she left, the soft hiss of the door closing behind her. Daniel sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the silver bowl once more. He'd come to this world for adventure, for a taste of something different. Now he was tied to an alien princess, in a game that could get them both killed, and somewhere out there, a shadow was climbing the palace walls. Night fell over the alien city like a curtain of blue fire. The 2 moons hung low, their pale light washing over the crystal walls of the palace. From his balcony, Daniel could see the streets below glowing with soft lanterns, but his eyes kept drifting to the dark corners, the shadows that could hide anything. He had not forgotten the figure climbing the walls earlier. Every creak of the palace seemed louder tonight. The air was too still. Too quiet, the kind of silence that came before something bad. Daniel sat in the dark, the silver bowl with the green crystal resting on the table beside him. It pulsed slowly, the glow faint, almost sleepy. Somehow, he felt like it was aware of him, like it knew danger was near. A faint sound broke the silence, a scrape of metal against stone. Daniel froze. It was the same sound as before, but now it was closer. Much closer. He moved quietly to the balcony doors and peered out. The moons lit the wall just enough for him to see them, two dark figures. Climbing fast, their hands gripping strange hooked claws that dug into the palace wall. Each wore tight black armor, their faces hidden behind masks. And strapped to their backs were weapons, long curved blades that shimmered in the moonlight. Daniel's stomach tightened. They were almost at his balcony. Without thinking, he grabbed the nearest thing he could use as a weapon, a heavy chair. He lifted it, heart pounding, as the first assassin reached the edge of the balcony. A gloved hand gripped the railing. Daniel swung. The chair slammed down on the attacker's arm. There was a grunt of pain, and the figure slipped, falling backward into the night. Daniel rushed to look. The assassin vanished into the darkness below. He didn't have time to see if they survived. The second one was already there. A masked face rose into view, eyes like burning coals, glaring at him. In one swift motion, the attacker vaulted onto the balcony, landing silently on both feet, blade drawn. Daniel stepped back, holding the broken chair leg like a club. He wasn't a soldier, but he'd been in enough fights to know one thing. Move fast or don't move at all. The assassin came at him. The blade cut through the air, sharp and fast. Daniel ducked, the edge missing him by inches. He swung the chair leg, catching the assassin across the ribs. The alien barely flinched, but it bought Daniel a second to move toward the door. It slid open before he reached it, and Serenia stepped inside. But she was not unarmed. She held a weapon Daniel had never seen before, a short staff with a glowing edge at both ends. Her eyes locked on the assassin, and she moved with the speed of lightning. The fight was over in seconds. The assassin swung at her, but Serenia's staff caught the blade, twisting it from their grip. In the same motion, she struck the attacker. Across the head with the flat of her weapon, they crumpled to the floor, unconscious. Daniel stared, still holding the broken chair leg. You could have mentioned you can fight like that. Her breathing was steady, calm, as if she had done this many times before. There are many things I have not told you yet, she said quietly. Two more palace guards rushed in, weapons. Ready? They looked at Serenia, awaiting orders. Take this one to the deep cells, she commanded, her voice cold now. Search the walls. If you find the other, bring them alive. Oh. The guards dragged the assassin away. When the room was quiet again, Daniel finally lowered his makeshift weapon. This is what you meant earlier, isn't it? He asked. That someone was trying to kill you. Serenia met his gaze, and for the first time, he saw something beneath her calm, a flicker of fear. Yes, she said softly. And tonight proves they will try again before the ceremony of moons. Daniel moved closer. Then we stop them. We find out who's sending them. Her eyes softened, but there was a weight in her voice. It's not that simple. Here enemies hide behind smiles. Even the ones who stand beside me in the throne room could be plotting my death. Daniel felt a chill run through him. You think? The elders. Her silence was answer enough. For a long moment, they stood there in the moonlight. The silver bowl between them, its green glow casting strange shadows on the walls. Daniel realized that, like it or not, he was now part of this, part of her. Fight, her danger, her fate, and deep inside, a decision was forming, though he hadn't said it out loud yet. If someone came for her again, they'd have to go through him first. 3 nights passed quickly, but they were not peaceful. Every corner of the palace seemed to hide a whisper, a shadow, a set of eyes that lingered too long. Extra guards patrolled the halls, yet Serenia never looked fully at ease. Daniel stayed close, learning the paths through the palace, memorizing exits, watching everyone the way a man watches a storm approaching. Now, the night of the ceremony of moons had arrived. It was the night their bond would be sealed before. The entire house of Vera. Daniel still wasn't sure if he was ready for this. But one thing was certain. Walking away was no longer an option. The palace's great hall had been transformed. Silk banners shimmered from the crystal walls, and bowls of glowing flowers lined the walkway to the center platform. High above, the moons shone through the open roof, their light mixing with the soft glow of hundreds of floating lanterns. Daniel stood beside Serenia as the elders took their seats in a wide circle around them. She wore silver ceremonial armor, this time delicate and beautiful, but strong enough to shield her heart. A thin crown rested on her head, its center set with a crystal that matched the one in the silver bowl. The crowd hushed as the eldest elder rose. "Tonight," he said in a deep voice, "we witness the binding of Serenia of the House of Vera and Daniel Ward of Earth under the light of our twin moons. This union is recognized by law, by tradition, and by the stars themselves." Daniel glanced at Serenia. Her eyes met his, calm but alert, as if she too was waiting for something to happen. The elder stepped forward, holding the silver bowl. Daniel realized it was the same one Serenia had given him in the market, their marriage token. The elder held it high for the crowd to see before offering it back to Daniel. "Drink," the elder commanded. Inside the bowl, the green crystal floated in a clear liquid, glowing brighter than ever. Daniel lifted it, about to drink, and that's when he saw it. Up in the rafters, half hidden by shadow, a figure crouched, aiming something that looked far too much like a weapon. Instinct kicked in. Daniel dropped the bowl and lunged at Serenia, pulling her down just as a sharp hiss cut through the air. A dart embedded itself in the crystal floor where her head had been. Chaos erupted. Guards shouted, guests screamed, and the elders scrambled to their feet. Daniel pulled Serenia behind the platform, scanning for the shooter. There Serenia pointed. The figure in the rafters jumped, landing silently before darting toward one of the side doors. Two guards gave chase, but more shouts rang out. There were others in the crowd, drawing weapons from under their robes. Daniel grabbed a fallen guard's spear and stepped in front of Serenia. "You're not touching her?" he growled. The first attacker came at him fast, a blade flashing in the lantern light. Daniel blocked with the spear, twisting to knock the weapon away before striking hard across the alien's side. The attacker crumpled, but another rushed in immediately. Serenia was no helpless royal. She snatched a guard's short sword and cut down the second attacker in a fluid motion. Her silver armor caught the light, making her look like a warrior. Queen, more guards poured into the hall, forcing the attackers back. Daniel saw one of them try to retreat toward the balcony doors. Without thinking, he chased them, tackling the alien to the ground. The masked figure hissed something in their language. But Daniel didn't need a translation to know it was a curse. He ripped the mask off and froze. It was one of the palace guards, one he had seen standing near the elders only hours ago, before Daniel could drag him to the elders. The attacker bit down on something and went limp. A quick check told Daniel it was poison by the time he turned back. The hall was a mess of bodies, overturned chairs, and spilled glowing flowers. The remaining attackers had been captured or killed, but the celebration was over. Serenia stood at the center of it all, her crown slightly askew, her blade dripping with alien blood. When her eyes met Daniel's, there was no fear, only resolve. "This was no random strike," she said quietly. "They will keep coming until either I am dead, or they are." Daniel dropped the broken spear, his chest still heaving from the fight. "Then we end it. No more waiting for them to come to you. We take the fight to them." "Ach, ha!" Her gaze lingered on him for a moment, then she nodded slowly. "After tonight, Daniel Ward of Earth, you are not just my bonded mate in law. You are my bonded mate in war." The palace felt different after the attack. The air was heavier, the corridors quieter. Every guard's eyes followed Daniel and Serenia as they walked. But trust was gone. The enemy had been inside the palace walls all along. Daniel had never planned to stay here. When he'd first arrived on this world, he'd been just another traveler, moving from place to place, looking for stories and experiences. Now, he was carrying a spear on his back, following an alien princess into a fight that could change the future of her people. Serenia led him through a hidden passage, the walls made of dark stone instead of crystal. "This tunnel goes outside the city," she whispered. "We'll reach the caves where my loyal fighters are hiding." Daniel glanced at her, and then she met his gaze without slowing. "Then we strike first. We take their leaders before they send another blade at my back." They moved quickly, the sound of their footsteps echoing in the narrow tunnel. When they finally emerged into the open air, the twin moons hung above like watchful eyes. A group of alien warriors waited in the shadows, armored, armed, and loyal to Serenia. Each one bowed deeply when she appeared. Daniel noticed how their eyes flicked to him. He wasn't one of them, but Serenia's word made him part of their fight. The ride to the enemy stronghold was silent. Daniel sat beside Serenia in the lead vehicle, a sleek hovercraft that skimmed over the rocky ground. The wind whipped at his face, but his mind was steady. Every choice that had led him here, taking her gift, protecting her during the attack, deciding not to walk away, felt like it had been leading to this moment. When they reached the deep edge of the stronghold, the warriors fanned out, moving into position. The building was an ancient fortress carved into the side of a cliff, its entrance guarded by only a few sentries. Serenia leaned close to Daniel. "They won't expect you. You're the only one who can walk in without them thinking you're here to kill them." Daniel gave a faint smile. "Guess I'll give them a surprise." He walked toward the gates, the silver bowl strapped to his back. The guard stepped forward, suspicious, but he kept his hands open and his voice calm. "I'm here to speak with your leaders," he said. "They'll want to hear what I have to say." One of the guards studied him, then nodded slowly, leading him inside. The main hall smelled of smoke and metal. At the far end, a group of armored figures sat around. A low table, maps, and weapons spread out before them. When they looked up, their expressions shifted from confusion to recognition. The human, one of them said in their language, "The bonded mate of the princess." Daniel stepped forward, keeping his tone even. "I came here because I'm tired of waiting for another attack. If you want me gone, tell me to my face. If you want her dead, try it now. But understand this, you'll have to kill me first." A murmur spread through the room, some amused, some angry. One of the leaders stood. "You have no place here. This is between our clans." Daniel shook his head. "No. The second you sent assassins, it became my fight too." Before the leader could respond, the sound of boots and weapons filled the hall. Serenia and her warriors burst in through the side entrance, blades and staffs ready. The leaders were caught between Daniel at the front and Serenia's fighters behind. The clash was quick and brutal. Daniel grabbed a fallen blade and fought alongside Serenia, striking down anyone who tried to reach her. Her warriors moved with precision, forcing the enemy into a corner. Within minutes, the leaders were on their knees, disarmed. Serenia stood over them, her voice sharp and cold. "Your plots end tonight. If you raise a hand against me or my mate again, the punishment will not be exile, it will be death." Her words echoed through the hall, and no one dared answer. When it was over, they left the fortress under the twin moons. The wind was softer now, carrying the scent of the wild flowers that grew in the rocks. Daniel walked beside Serenia, his shoulders aching but his mind clear. She looked at him for a long moment before speaking. "You could have left at any time. You didn't have to do this." He smiled faintly. "Maybe not. But I wanted to." Somewhere along the way, this stopped being just your fight. Her gaze softened, the glow in her green eyes warm now. In our law, the binding began the moment you took my gift. But in my heart, it began tonight." Daniel didn't answer right away. They walked in silence until the palace lights appeared in the distance. Then he reached out, taking her hand. This time, he knew exactly what it meant. The stars above seemed brighter than before, and the green crystal at his back pulsed gently, not as a token of obligation, but as a promise they had both chosen.